Hi, guys. Welcome back to It's All Light. I'm your host, Natalie Bott, and today's guest is Emme Clarke. So
Hi, everyone.
I met Emmy a few months ago. I don't even remember when, but Emmy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So we met a few months ago at Golf, actually. Our boyfriends are friends, but a little bit about myself. I'm from Utah. I'm still at school right now, so I'm going to BYU. I'm studying experience design and management, so like event planning. So that's super fun. Um, I love being outside. I think the mountains kind of raised me. I like to think. Definitely spent a lot of that time growing up outside, hiking. I love skiing, running. Um, yeah, I play violin. Lots of fun things.
Cool. Do you know what type of event planning you want to do?
That is still up in the air. I have kind of thought about doing like sports events, and I would love to incorporate nonprofit into that if
Cool.
possible. So we'll see.
That's awesome. I love all those things you mentioned, and I can relate in so many ways. And fun fact, too, Emmy also did the Squaw 50 ultra marathon, too. So she's a big time runner, mountain
Yes.
adventurer, mountain biker. There's probably some, like, what do I want to say? There's nothing I will say that you haven't probably tried. But tell us a little bit about, before we dive into other things, just what inspired you to do the ultra marathon.
Okay. I don't know. We can get into how I got into running later, but I think what inspired the ultra marathon was just like a feeling of wanting to accomplish something. And I think that there's a lot of things that I could have done. Um, and so choosing that I think was something that just like blew my mind. And I thought, you know what, if I can do this, then there's a lot of things in life that I can do. If I can accomplish this, then there's other things that I'm scared of. There's other things that would seem impossible. Like if I
Mm-hmm.
can accomplish this, then I know that those are also possible.
I love that. Such a good life lesson too. Just any hard thing you choose to do versus that's just thrown at you. It gives you that mental strength. So thank you for sharing that.
Right.
And our random question of the day is, what has been a pivotal moment in your life and why?
Okay. Question. There are, I think, lots of moments that have been pivotal for me. Um, I'll go into one. This was on my mission. So I spent some time in California in Sacramento on my mission, just teaching about Jesus Christ. And there was this one woman, um, and her name was April, and she was very awesome. And I'm still in touch with her today. But she, and well, we had been teaching her and we had been talking with her. And I think that something that really changed my life was her choosing to change her life, everything for Jesus Christ, and like seeing her do that for herself. It made me think of like what I needed to do better. I love Jesus Christ. I love my Heavenly Father, and I think that that's a big thing that motivates my life is like my connection with God. And so I think that she and her example of like totally 180, just switching her entire life around. I think it's not something that I've had to do. It's not that dramatic, but I think it's just been something that really changed my perspective on things and made me realize, hey, like I can get closer to Jesus Christ every single day.
Wow, that's so cool. I love stories like that. I used to be jealous of people who would like have such cool stories. In a sense, they had like a huge pivotal 180-degree life change, But like I've
Right,
been pretty steady my whole life, which has been such a blessing
right,
too.
same.
But I love leaning on other stories like that just because you see those changes and you start to remember how even the little things in our lives can build up to greater change. So thanks for sharing that. I
Yeah.
love it. So we learned a little bit about you. So now you kind of mentioned with like things about yourself, but what do you light up about the most right now in your life?
Okay, good question. I think definitely it would be running. I think Emmy touched a little bit on that. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that that has been something that has just like made my life so much happier and so much richer, I guess is what I could say. It's really changed my life, I think.
So when did you start running?
So I did cross country my junior year of high school. And I kind of did it because my sister did it, and my dad was a huge runner. And I kind of wanted to just make friends. I think that was my main goal,
Yeah.
was to just make friends. I felt like that could be a good positive thing for me. And so I did it, and I kind of did it half-heartedly. I didn't ever like place anything ever, and like I made a few friends, but nothing really crazy. Um, but I remember being on a run one day when I was 17 years old, and I was just on like a 2 mile run, and it was sunset. It was so pretty. And I just thought to myself, hey, like, this is hard. And like, sometimes I hate this, but I feel like I could do a marathon. And so at 17 years old, that's when I did my first marathon. I
Wow.
said right there, like, I could do this. And so I trained really hard, and my dad was a huge support. He's been running with me ever since I've really gone into it. But that was kind of when I started to realize that like bigger things were possible, I guess. So that's
Yeah.
like how I got into it.
That's so cool. So, since you were little, has your dad been a runner? Like you've grown up with his example of running?
Yes. So he's a huge runner. He runs 50 milers, 100Ks, like just big, big races.
Amazing.
And so he's kind of like superhuman to me. I'm like, oh my goodness. Um, but he didn't even get into it until he was in his 30s. I know that. So
Cool.
within my lifetime, I remember him saying that, like, at my age, I don't think he had ever really run more than 5 miles. I don't know. I can't quote him, but
Wow.
yeah, it doesn't really, yeah, it doesn't go back far.
Wow. Why does he run? Like what got him into it? Sorry, this is a little bit of backstory context.
No, you're good. So yeah, my dad, I think, taught me that running for him has been an outlet for him. It's been something that has made him, I think, more stable, and it just drives your life forward in a way that like I didn't think was really possible. And so
Yeah.
just seeing him become like more grounded, more centered through running and through um, honestly connecting with the outdoors, I think that's a huge part of it. Um, I think that's been something that I craved, something that I really wanted, and he was just doing it. He was doing it right in front of my eyes, and it's something that like I was like, okay, he just like mapped it out for me, so I can do this.
Cool.
So yeah,
I mean, I absolutely love hearing anything about running and people's journeys. I still need to get my
right.
neighbor on the podcast, but she's done a handful of ultras. She had done the Squaw 50, and so I went and interviewed her. And it's just so cool to hear
Cool.
like the parallels with a lot of crazy distance runners, just how much it
Hmm.
affects your whole life and being in the mountains and having a group of people to run with. And one time me, Emmy and her
Hmm.
dad went running and my boyfriend, and it was just fun to be with the people outside and you're doing hard things and then just the accomplishment after any run, honestly, even if you go out for 3 miles or
Yeah.
13 miles, it just feels so good to finish a long run and just to share that with people. I love that. And it was so fun watching you and your dad do the race together too. So thanks for sharing a little bit about that.
Thank you. Yeah.
You also said you're passionate about violin and music. So when did you start playing the violin?
Yeah. So I started when I was 5.
Cool.
Um, my sister also started when she was about that age, and I think she's 3 years older than I am, and
Okay.
I think I just really wanted to be like her.
Awesome.
But I have loved, um, having that as an outlet as well, I think is such a blessing to me. I think it's something that's exciting, it's fun to play. I don't play it as much, but I think that's the same for anything,
Oh yeah.
any one of my passions, even running, it's like right now I'm kind of in a lull,
Yeah.
um, but it's something still that is very important to me.
Yeah.
So I love music.
So with music, like, did you play a lot of classical music? Did you do Suzuki?
I did do Suzuki. So yeah,
Nice.
for anyone who doesn't know,
Yeah.
Suzuki is like it's like 10 it's like 10 books of
Levels,
theme songs,
lessons.
and
Yeah.
levels. Exactly. And so they took it's about a year per book, at least for me. And so I did
Cool.
that growing up, graduated from that, and I've taught a little bit of violin,
Oh,
and that's
nice.
been really sweet. Just like connecting with like little kids and teaching them
Yeah.
violin, I think is super, super cute. I think
No,
that's so fun.
I absolutely love that. I took a teaching class for violin once, like forever ago. And I've taught
Right.
two people, but like very, like only a few lessons. But it'd
Oh,
be so cool to eventually build that up. Just, I only made it to book
yeah.
5 though. So I would do beginners up to the first few books and then pass them to like a more experienced, maybe music major teacher or
Right.
something. But it really is
Yeah.
so fun. I think music really
It is fun.
does bring like an element of life where it's like, you could get a dog and learn responsibility that way, but like with music, you have to practice and be responsible in that way. What are some lessons you've learned from
Yes.
playing the violin? Were you a diligent
That's a good
practicer?
um, the answer is probably sometimes. I think it definitely went downhill as I got older, in high school, but
Yeah.
it definitely taught me a lot of things. It taught me that like I can't fake a week of practice, like meeting my teacher and just she would know if I had practiced or not. And I think it's like, yeah, you can fake it for a second, but what really matters is like hard work and like putting in the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think another thing that I've learned too is like just to slow things down. I've thought about this a lot, like um, at least with like pieces and violin. I could play something as fast as I want, and like sometimes that's like what I want to do. I just want to like get it done, and like if I play through it like X amount of times, then I'll be done practicing. I can play this song.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've learned that that is not as helpful. Playing something 5 times fast is not as helpful as playing something 1 time slow. Um, and just to slow things down, honestly. Like, even in life, when I feel like I'm just rushing and I have the tendency to, like, I think I just, like, storm through life sometimes. I, like, get ready fast, I, like, go to stuff fast, and I give myself no time to reflect and no time to, like, make small little adjustments. And I think that with violin, like, those small adjustments is what really makes a piece beautiful. It's like it's those
Mm-hmm. Totally.
tiny notes and like making sure that those notes sing in that part of the song. And so just making sure like, hey, this part of my life, I want to make this beautiful. And so I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to reflect and I'm going to make those tiny adjustments because usually it's not something that I need to like 180 turn my life around,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah,
we had
you're
said
you're on a pretty good
before. But
course. Yeah.
yeah. And if you are in that position, of course, you can make those changes. But um, I think it's just those little changes that really make all the difference.
Hmm. I liked how you compared it to life. I feel like there's so many things like as you were talking, I was like, oh yeah, I totally recognize that, and I totally recognize that. Like you have to fine tune routines or fine tune certain aspects of your life if you want a different outcome. And
Right.
yeah, it's interesting though. I feel like when practicing a song, you hit a mistake and then you know that's a spot you need to fine tune. So I'm like, sometimes in life to
Mm-hmm.
find where we should start, it's like, okay, I've done this a few too many times and it has caused a rift in this relationship. So then it's like
Right.
taking that
Mm-hmm.
time to reflect and then go back and be like, okay, what do I need to do to fine tune it so it sings beautifully? Oh, I think that's
Yes.
so cool. Thanks for that analogy. I love that.
Yes, of course.
Similar to these lessons you've learned from music, what are some lessons you've learned from running?
That is also a good question. Um, there's a lot of things I've learned. I think one of them being also to slow down. I think, I don't think anyone needs to kill themselves over going too fast. But I think another thing that I've learned is that comparison is the thief of joy. I love that quote
Mm-hmm.
of just like, comparing myself and like I can compare myself to my dad, and I know that that's very unrealistic because of just who he is. But I can compare myself to my past self, which is unhealthy. I can become obsessed with like even like Strava, the like running app, like seeing other
Mm-hmm.
people's times and like how much they're out there. It's like it's so hard to like just not like care and to like
Yeah.
tell yourself like yes, I am a good runner and I can do what I need to do and I know what works with me, and what works with my body.
Mm-hmm.
Um and like just seeing other people like go so fast or so long or so often, and it's like they can be runners too. And like I can be the runner that I need to be, honestly.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter what other people think or what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just to be consistent with yourself, I think, and not worrying about I
Yeah.
don't know anything like that. It's so silly.
No, I fall into the comparison game all the time. I would compare myself to you and you would go on your runs and I don't know, just like even to like the details of like just like making a cute video of your run because seriously every trail run is an
Yeah,
adventure. And like I just had to
right.
accept that for me the adventures in my head and I didn't need to make a cute reel of it, but I loved yours and I loved that like I don't know, just to not compare because like you would go run
Yeah.
like a marathon and I would be like, "Oh my gosh, you just did a marathon. I need to catch up." Like how do I
Yeah,
it's
it
good when you
was.
let you push yourself, but yeah, what helps you
Yeah,
not compare?
that's a good question. I think sometimes it really is just like doing what is best. And like, for example, this is so bad of me, but there was this one girl that like I would see on Instagram and she had like a running club. And this was like when I was really into running. And it would just, I don't know why, but it would just like rub me in the wrong way. I was like, why are you like this type of runner when like I believe that a runner is this, and it's like
Hmm.
it was just rubbing me the wrong way. And I think a lot of it is, you have to be humble and you have to, at least for me, like ask God, like, please help me to just like not compare myself. But
Yeah.
then you also like I just had to block her. I'm like, I don't need this in my life. If I'm
Yeah.
gonna be like mean
Mm.
and like constantly thinking about this, then I can just distance myself from that, and just
Yeah.
remove yourself from it. Cause I feel like now, not seeing it so often, I'm like, you know what? It was also silly, and I could unblock her if I wanted to, but I just haven't gotten around to that.
No, I totally get that. And I'm like, maybe I shouldn't scroll through Strava like Instagram. Like, I don't know. It's like when people used to scroll
I
through
know.
Venmo as a joke. But yeah,
I
no, it's
know.
like I just have to remember like encourage and don't compare. Like I love giving people kudos and it's so cool to see
Yes.
new routes
Encourage.
and what people are up to in the fitness world. But yeah, thank
For
you
sure.
for thank you for inspiring me. I've shifted the comparison to inspiration.
That's good.
But I
Yeah.
also love
I
setting
think
boundaries
being
too.
positive is good.
Yeah.
Yes. Setting boundaries and encouraging, I think those are all great things.
So you mentioned your older sister. Does she run? She plays the violin. Does she also run?
She does run.
Cool.
She's ran a marathon with me,
Fun.
I think 2 or something, but she's awesome.
Nice.
She's away right now. She's in Florida, but
Nice. And how
I
many
love her
siblings do
very
you have?
much. I have so my older sister, and we're 3 years apart. We're pretty close, and then I have 2 younger brothers, and so they are a little bit younger. They're in high school and junior high, but they're super
Fun.
sweet, and I still am close with them as well.
Love that. And how old are you?
I'm 22,
22.
so
So awesome.
still pretty young.
Such a fun time of life. There's just so many things.
Yes.
So I'm like all over the place today, just kind of unraveling who Emmy Clark is. But what would be your dream job?
Ooh, I if I didn't do event planning and if I had all of my dreams come true, I think honestly I would love to be an FBI agent. That
Oh,
would be my dream job, 100%. I think I've always like as a little kid, I've like gotten like spy equipment as like Christmas gifts or
no
like
way.
birthday gifts. um, I just like something about like that high action,
That's
like
amazing.
spy life is like something that has always been so fun to me.
I would have never guessed. That is so fun. Do you watch
Yeah.
any FBI movies? Did you ever watch White Collar?
No, honestly, I haven't gotten that deep into it as a grown adult, but I should.
White Collar's fun. It's an FBI agent and like
Okay.
a con, kind of like Catch Me If You Can, but they like solve
Okay.
cases
Yeah.
together. Me and my dad watched it together, and it was really fun. But my little sister's
That's
been inspiring me lately to watch less TV, so that is a goal. I'm like, okay, yeah, I love going to
okay.
the mountains. Go to the mountains. Go running. Like priorities. But
Yeah, for sure.
FBI stuff, that is I've Googled like FBI applications before too. I think it's so cool. And I speak Russian and I'm like, how
Yes.
could I use my
Oh
Russian?
my
So I'm
gosh.
like, I've like
Yes.
almost applied a few times, but for some reason
Oh
or
yeah.
another, I haven't gone through with it. But it'd be
Yeah.
intense. That's
It
so
would be
fun.
intense.
Okay, I kind of jumped
Yeah.
forward and now I'm jumping back. Just like, I love that you said, I am a loyal family girl. And I just wanted to dive into what that means to you and I don't know, just what something our listeners could gain from just a new perspective on family life and making that a priority.
Yeah. I love my family. They are all close by, besides my sister. So my sister's married. Her and her husband have been traveling a lot this past year, and I think it's easy for me as someone who lives very close to their family to almost take that for granted. I think it's like, oh, I see them on Sundays, and so I won't talk to them because I'll see them on Sundays, and then when I'm there, I just kind of am like, this is normal. I'm in and I'm out. It's quick, and I honestly could feel my family life, at least for me. I don't know about them,
Mm-hmm.
but at least for me, deteriorate.
Mm-hmm.
And this has just been my entire college experience, just living close with them. And so once my sister got married last year, she has been so wonderful, and she's been making an effort to call me every Monday, kind of like it's a P day, just like a weekly check in.
Yeah.
And I think that has made me feel so loved, like to have her reach out and be like, hey, I would love to talk to you today. And like every week, no matter what they're doing, they could be in Peru and they're like hiking Machu Picchu. And she's like, can I call you today? And it's been so like loving and so sweet to me. And so I've been trying to do that with my family, even though it's like they are close by and that might be a little much to be like, I need to talk with you right now. But just like taking the time, I think, to like want to talk with them and like just really ask questions. With my little brothers, it's easy to feel disconnected just because they're in a different stage of life and they're boys and they have each other. So I think whenever I'm around them, I try to, or at least recently, ask them about like the little things that matter to them because I remember how junior high felt and how it was to like have a
Yeah.
lunch with your friends, And so I just think taking that time is huge.
I love that. I love, in a sense, like a set time to chat, like usually with like
Yes.
my sister, she has kids. And so it's like, I know when they're going down for their naps. I know when they'll be awake, or I don't know. It's just fun to make
Yeah.
that time. And like Monday P-Day time, my brother's on his mission, and every time our whole family all hops on,
Yeah.
and my dad's at his dental office and my sister's running around chasing her kids. And it's just so,
Yeah.
it really does just build that bond. Thanks for sharing. I love that. Any
Yes, of
any
course.
other tips regarding relationships in general?
That's a good question. Um, I think recently I've been trying to, on top of reaching out more often, just like genuinely complimenting people. I think that that's something that is something that I value a ton when someone like tells me something very kind, something that they like took the time to notice,
Yeah.
when it's something that is like, oh, that was very meaningful. Like, oh, you said you did this very well, whatever. But I think evaluating each of my relationships and being like, okay, am I thanking them for how I feel because of them, because my closest relationships really do like make me happy, so happy, and it's what drives my every single day. And so it's thanking them that matters and um, noticing the little things because that's how I would want to be treated as well.
Yeah. No, that is so cool. I love that you brought it up. Even today at work, we do like an icebreaker question for some of our meetings. And today's question was, what is the greatest compliment you've ever been given? And I want to ask you that. It
Oh,
was
it's tender.
it was really hard to think of because I feel like sometimes I just muddle them all in my head, but I'm like, I want to try to be that person to give like those meaningful, like take time to notice
Yeah.
compliments. So what comes to your
Yeah.
mind?
Oh, that's a good question. The most meaningful compliment I've ever been given. I can't. There's probably been more meaningful, but um, I think something that was very sweet was I remember my boyfriend one time told me that he like loved my heart. And I was like, that's so sweet. Like my heart. Like that's just like me, like to like really like think of like me and my desires and being like, oh, like what a sweet girl you are. I think that was tender.
Well, your heart, yeah, encompasses, I mean, as we've gotten to know you on this episode, like it really is your heart and what's important to you. I love that. And when people can like see it and they mean it, it just like makes
Yeah,
all the difference. Oh, thanks for sharing. I love that.
agreed.
All right, we're going to full circle and go back to running. I'm going to quote what you said on
Okay.
the form because I love it. You said, so elaborating on your passion, you said running, how it solves so many issues in my life, letting it stabilize me and my thoughts, being proactive about what will make me happy. I want to hear more of your thoughts on that
Mhm.
because I think a lot of people would agree.
Yeah, I think running is such a stabilizing thing in my life. Kind of like I said before, it's something that um, has made all the difference. And I think, at least for me, I run on the anxious side. I am very much a forward thinker, and it's like every day is like kind of knocked out for the next month or so almost. Um, and so I think that running gives me a sense of like almost like spontaneity. I think that like is the needed change that I it's the change that I needed, something that like no run is the same. No matter how many times like you run the same route, and I think that that can get old, but you feel differently each time, and the weather changes, you pass different people, and sometimes your leg hurts. I just think it teaches you mental toughness. It teaches you like you can do hard things. I can't really remember what else I put on that form,
Yeah,
but
no, I love it. All that
right,
you're saying is so good. I'm just
yeah.
smiling ear to ear. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. I'm like, can I go on a run right now? I
I
love
know. Now
that.
I'm like, I should go. It's hot
No,
though.
it is hot. Um, yeah, I think there's so many things that can be taken from, like, for us it's running, for my coworker it's her CrossFit. She does it like 2 times a day, and that's her
Hmm.
happy place, and she hits her goals
Yeah.
and works toward things, and it's cool to, like, get to know
Right.
what makes people tick, and like what's important to them and how that affects their life. Because there's, I mean, with this podcast I've noticed just how much our passions correlate with every other aspect in our lives, either as like a
Yes.
framework or as just life lessons that they then can apply to other areas of their life. One of the kids who helped me
Yeah.
on the ultra, he was running um the last 13 miles with his brother and me, and like we were just talking about relationship things and all sorts of conversations, but I loved that he was like, well, like, you're 2 miles away. Like, once you finish this, there's like nothing you can't do. He's like, emotionally,
Hmm.
any, like, this is a physical thing and a mental thing. He's like, after you've done this, like, what can't you do? And that started to
Right.
stick with me more and more. And I'm like, oh, I can apply that
Yeah.
to an emotional side of things. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know, sometimes hard conversations, communications in relationships can be hard, but it's like
Hmm.
you can overcome it and do it together. I don't know. Have you experienced something like that?
Definitely. I think, communication for me has always been not, it hasn't come easily. And I think, at least for me, I was a little bit nervous for this. I feel like I don't do well talking about myself, and I feel like I find an easier spot in my life listening to other people, which is a strength, I think, but it
Definitely.
can also be somewhat of a weakness at times. And I think, um, yeah, I think realizing like this physical thing was the hardest thing I've ever done. And like, if someone asked me to do 50 miles right now, I'm not sure I could do it. Like, I really don't know. But like to know that like I have accomplished that and that's in my past, like I am a strong woman. And to be able to apply that to my relationships, like I can do the hardest thing that is necessary in order to make a relationship something that is stronger,
Mm-hmm.
something
Yeah.
that is worthwhile. And I think um, those relationships that last are the ones that you have to do the hardest thing necessary. You have to have those conversations and you have to, I don't know, you have to not change yourself, I think, but just make yourself better each and every day because of those relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like
Yeah.
you have a lot of responsibility being in someone's life. Like, even if you are a daughter or a son, like something that we all are, like no
Mm-hmm.
matter what, whatever relationship we have, that's a big responsibility because, you know, that's another person we're talking about and
Yeah.
their feelings and what they need. And so I think just taking that responsibility seriously and making sure that you are taking those steps in order to make that relationship stronger.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Like, and it even parallels to like our divinity, being a child of God and putting in that
Right.
time. I also was thinking about just relationships and running. If, like, it
Hmm.
took so much sacrifice to train for that race, like every
Yeah.
Saturday, 7, 8, 9 hours we're running, and every day of the
Yeah.
week, just that was where our life was dedicated to, and we sacrificed a lot for it. And I was just thinking about like how I can do that for my boyfriend or like other family members. It's like, how can I put
Yeah.
them first, where it's like they're my priority, and that's what I'm like, what can I sacrifice to better meet their needs? And that is just
Right.
this block I'm trying to tackle right now. But I loved your thoughts on it. I like just reminding myself I've done hard things before and I've sacrificed before, and then putting that in other areas, putting other things as my end goal type of thing. Cool. A lot of my listeners are dating and in romantic relationships, and I'm curious if you
Hmm.
have any thoughts lately that have helped you in romantic relationships or any dating advice that you feel like helped you.
That's a good question. So I have a boyfriend and we've been dating for almost a year now.
Awesome.
I'm trying to think of what has been helping me recently because it's always something that you have to be aware of, and aware of another person's feelings. Um, I think for me, it's just speaking your needs. I think that that has been something that is hard for me to like just say, hey, this is what I need, and this is what I want, and this is what I want out of a relationship. And I think more often than not, almost 100% of the time, the other person, like at least in my relationship, and hopefully other people as well, is something that they're happy to talk with you about. It's something
Yeah.
that they're happy to accommodate, but not letting things go like just fester in your brain, I think. And also just like if you're in the beginning stages of a relationship, making sure that like you're not settling and you're not just like seeing someone's potential and just running with that. But I think with any relationship, just making sure the other person knows where you need to be at and what they can do in order to make you happy. I think that's super important.
I want to know more when you said like at the beginning stages of a relationship when you are like deciding like not to settle. What do you mean by that? Like I'm trying to remember how you
Yeah.
worded it, but
Yeah, no, I feel like that's the beginning stages of like letting someone know what you need out of a relationship. I think
okay.
during the beginning stages it's more of your decision, it's kind of, well, it's always your decision, but it's always when it's early on, I think it's more of like, okay, will you be able to give me what I need, and like are we going to be able to be a good match, or like let's be realistic, are we not a good match, and like will we not be able to give each other what we need, because
Mhm.
I think if
Yeah.
one person is not able to give you what you need, more often than not you're not going to be able to
Give what they
meet
need.
their needs as well. Hmm.
Yeah. No, it's a journey and it definitely takes that constant effort to figure it out. And even months into a
So,
relationship, that is still a question of, okay, what are your needs? And oh, I haven't been helping in that area and how could you like change and grow together, which I think is the beauty of why
yeah,
we have relationships and marriages, it's just cuz we bounce back
yeah.
and perfect each other. So great, great
Hmm.
thoughts. I mean, I love that. We're gonna share just like from our whole episode an uplifting takeaway, something you want to carry on with you throughout the week, as well as for our listeners to ponder and reflect on. And if there's any other thoughts that we didn't cover, feel free to share them. But and thank you so much again for opening up and
Yes, of
sharing
course.
about your life. And now I'm thinking about all the
Sure.
things we talked about. Like what's my takeaway? And we'll let you go first.
Okay. I think I love what you said about sacrifice. I think anything good in life takes sacrifice, and I think it's pretty simple. And I think it just makes us happier no matter what. And it's hard, but it's all worth it. So that's what I would like to take away from this.
Oh, it's true. And it's so hard. I'm like, oh, there's so many things that like sacrifice is service, because I want my life to be a life of
Yes.
service. So it's
Mhm.
I'm a long way from it, but I'm like, okay, it this podcast helps me find new ways each week. So I think for me too, it's kind of getting back into running for one because I miss it and it's been like a month without running,
Me
but
too.
letting that like making sure I parallel that with what like whatever else I want to be as important, like the time I'm sacrificing
Mhm.
for it, like sacrifice that for my boyfriend. And I don't know, you were so good just this whole episode, like how you talked about relationships and focusing on others and just what are they thinking and what are they feeling. So just hearing you talk about your relationships helps me want to just focus on others more and like, oh, what are they thinking? What are they feeling? And how can I make time for what's important to them and helping meet their needs? So I need to write that
Mhm.
down and like post it all over my room, and actively work on it. But I loved everything you had to say. I want to be like you.
Thank you.
And I'm grateful
Thanks. I
to
wanna be
learn
like
about
you.
it. Well, go on more runs, and anybody who wants to get into trail running,
Yes.
Emmy's a great
Please.
a great example. So, thank you
You're so
again. If there's anything else, I can add it to our show notes. I'll leave your Instagram there for people if they want to look at your cute running reels or just ask you questions. But
nice.
everyone, have a happy Tuesday. Go outside, do what you love, and have a great week. See ya.